What is up, my friends? We are here on another episode of Level After Next podcast, where every week we're going to be your accountability. We're going to give you the inspiration. We're going to hopefully make you laugh a little bit. And at the end, you're going to have every desire to go forth and slay. So let's do this. Welcome, my friends, to another episode of Level After Next. Today, I am with Marc Paisant, and if you go to his website, you're going to see that he's winning. And I'm just going to put it that way. With a podcast called 6 a.m. Run Nutrition, I'm like, great. What am I in for? I'm going to get my butt kicked in this podcast. I'm sorry. Did I not warn you that I was going to be throwing randos at you?
I listened to a couple of the shows, but I don't think that prepared me for it. That's good. I'll take it. Listen, I will take that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I have no doubt that you win twice on Sundays on a regular basis. You do individual training, and you, like I said, I don't know if you missed this, but 6 a.m. Run Nutrition and podcast terrifies the living daylights out of me. And look, Marc, maybe you can help me get there again. But I ran half marathons. I used to love waking up before the sun, before my kids, getting out, running. I remember how I felt. Right now, the thought of it makes me want to stick a fork in my eye more than anything else in the world. So I'm working on getting back there, which is why I don't tell people that they need to wake up early and make their bed anymore, because I need to start doing it myself. But I am so honored and excited to get to have you here, because I know how important all of these things are. So tell me, where did it start? Where did it all start? Take us back to the beginning. We want to know a little bit about you before you became the absolute great that you are now.
Where did it start? And that, first of all, thank you so much for that great intro, which I don't think I've ever received that intro before. I appreciate it. And I'm very humbled and grateful to be on a show with you. And, you know, one of the episodes I was listening to from this show, you were explaining how your oldest is very empathetic and he can read your mind, and like that, you love that about him. And that was me as a kid. Like, I was the overly empathetic mama's boy, and I love making people smile and laugh, and I still love that. But you know, it was just one of those things where it's like I always had a smile on my face, and I always wanted people to just feel great about themselves, and I wanted them to enjoy every bit of life, and I wanted to just please my mother, you know, God rest her soul, as much as I could. And turns out, and I'm not saying this is going to happen with your son. It turns
I'm prepared.
Turns out that a lot of the time I would put myself to the back. I would not prioritize how I felt, not prioritize my own financial responsibility by giving to others, not prioritize if that smile on my face was real or if it was a mask so others wouldn't have to ask me, hey, Marc, what's wrong? What's going on? Let's chat. So as a kid, I had a lot of fun. I have a twin brother, older sister, grew up in the suburbs and played sports, played soccer and basketball, went to Clemson on a soccer scholarship and played there for a little bit. And, you know, life, and I don't know if this happened for you, life hit me pretty hard as an adult, because being in sports, being in high school and college sports, everything was rigid. Everything was kind of laid out for you. Marc, you have to do this at this time, and then go to class, and then study hall, and then practice, and then games, and then eat, and then sleep. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So once I became an adult, it's like, I have all this free time. I'm sure I'm going to do all that stuff that they made me do before. And no, I didn't. My 20s were filled with all of the mistakes that made me the person I am today. So when you ask,
I can relate.
Yes. When you ask me like, hey, I want to get up and work out early, or I want to do this, or I want to, turn my hobbies into a money-making adventure, or I want to just be a better version of myself and help others do it. I literally just have to look back at my 20s, which I just turned 45 last week. And I love being 45. Like I love being in my 40s. I feel like this is the time in your life where you're still young enough to like go out and like pretend you know how to like play adult soccer, which I don't know why I do that, but I do. But at the same time, you have the experience of your 20s and 30s behind you. So in my 20s, I look back and I see a very scared, a very lonely, a very unwilling to be vulnerable person. And it caused a lot of internal turmoil, say that a bunch of times, which caused me to try to really think about what these, rotations around this big star in the universe meant. Like, what did all this mean? And not to get too deep on people, because I'm really not a deep person. I don't want to. I'm really not a deep person. Be like, oh, that's
even
great,
better.
Even great. Like, no, I like every time I coach or every time I talk to somebody or when I'm teaching or whatever, I make the game simple, make things simple. It's the coaches that, I don't say bug me, but I don't relate to them, that they're like really breaking things down and this is what you do. It's like, does this ball go in that net? All right, let's get it over there. That's what we need to do.
Right.
So between 20s and right now, there has been a transformation of me physically and mentally. I have learned to basically accept myself for who I am. I am a grown-ass man who has very sensitive feelings. I'm a grown-ass man who likes to ask other grown-ass men, how are you feeling? And then shut up and let them tell me how they're feeling. And then I like to wake up early and take care of my physical body because I have 2 little girls who play soccer. I have a wife who's an attorney, and I work a 9 to 5. And I make sure that the beginning of my day starts with me so I can become the best version of myself. So I am a better husband, father, friend, neighbor, cousin, brother, all that good stuff. So I don't know how generic or specific or in between that answer was, but that's what I'm going to go with for right now.
No, it's great. I mean, it just seems to be the theme of so many conversations that I'm having lately. And what's so interesting is that you touched on something. I had a call this morning with someone who was my business coach years ago, who I just stay in close contact with. And I was in a call with him and another woman who's aspiring to be a big time speaker. And we got into this topic that you touched on so perfectly. And I'm like, my brain's exploding a little bit right now, of how we do kind of go through the same metamorphosis in our 40s as we do in our 20s, because what I was saying is I want to speak to those kids, but I feel like the message is just as important or more important for those of us in like entering into middle age, if that's what we're going to call it. Doesn't feel like it. But we have the experience and it's different. So things don't crash us as much. And we get to at this point that like we can take full responsibility and move forward. Hopefully, we are able to take control of that. It was funny though, because he's still in it. He's younger. He's a little young one. He's very wise, but he was like, my mind is blown. I never even thought that I had to expect this.
It's true. You're right. It's true. Why would he expect it? Why would
right.
It's crazy.
You've got things figured out in your 30s, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. But I agree with you. I was very excited to turn 40, and I'm excited to move in deeper into my 40s. I feel like it's just, there's struggle out there. Mm-hmm. There's struggle in here. Groceries are expensive. We've got 3 kids. They're all in sports. And I'm like, maybe don't eat for a couple of days. Would that hurt you that much? I don't know.
No one said you had to like clothe and feed them every day. That's crazy.
All the time.
I mean, they should put that on the label. I don't know why what happened. So
it was not in the book.
Even if they had a book, like, and they have dozens of them. They have hundreds of them. So many. They don't even scratch the surface.
No.
They don't even scratch the surface.
I mean, how about, I'm sorry, tangent time for just a second, but how about the fact that, like, yes, okay, a baby's going to be born. This is how you feed them. This is how, whatever. Like, how about the fact that we become completely different human beings in a matter of seconds?
Mhm.
That's a lot for your brain to process. Like, suddenly, nothing that mattered before matters at all anymore. I'm a new human. And that is like fascinating and never spoken about. And then we get into our 40s and we're like, wait a second.
That was the easy part. That was the easy part. Now I got, now they talk back. Now they
I
actually
am
have,
a person. Yeah. Now they think they're people.
now
What?
they think, what? No, absolutely not. This is
Oh my
house.
gosh. How old are your daughters?
10 and 9. One just turned 9. The 9-year-old is going to be 29 next year. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's the one where it's like, wife, that you deal
Help.
with her. Yeah, that's yours, because I have questions that I
Does
don't
your
want.
wife say she's a lot like you?
No, the older one is not like me. Thank goodness. They both have, listen, together, when they're together, they share a brain. So they're a lot like me in that instance, where it's like, how, like, are you two this dumb individually, or are you literally like, it's hilarious. Because you'll just, I don't know if you do this with your kids. Like, you'll just listen to them have a conversation with each other, and you're like, this is the dumbest conversation, but I'm so intrigued on where it goes. Like, let's see what happens. And finally, you're like, what the hell are you girls talking? Like, what is going? Like, walk me through
Are you
this.
making sense to each other right now? Like, what is this? Yeah.
I just sit there and laugh, and I'm like, yes, I have proof they're my kids. I have proof
That's
that
so
both of
funny.
them are my girls. Yes.
So it is so good. My daughter is 9, turning 10, but like you said, she's like 33 or something.
Yes.
And that in itself is weird to go back and forth with all of my kids, especially my oldest son. He's turning 12 this month, and I like one. Sometimes we're just like buddies.
Yeah.
But then I have to be like, bro, I am your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's my daughter. That's the oldest. She's my mini me. And sometimes you gotta be like, oh, I have to reprimand you. You're not supposed to. And it's like,
yeah, this sucks.
come on, man, do better. Like,
Yeah.
so, but I am a dad. I'll accept that wholeheartedly. I'm a dad.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I feel like with those relationships and I think that in the world that we are, where we're helping others and working on our mindset, it's such a gift to be able to work on those things with our own kids at such an early age. I think so often about like, well, if I had the tools that I'm seeing him gain right now, how different could some of my difficulties have been? So, talk to me about your training and what that looks like, and then obviously I'm going to ask how that it translates to your littles, because I think that that's yet another great thing that if you're listening to podcasts and you're gaining from them, it's helping you take it home too. We have an opportunity to just gift our kids so much.
First of all, let me say this. I think podcasts and like audiobooks and like is the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because I am not one to sit down and like watch. I don't binge watch TV. I barely watch it. And I think the podcast medium I think it was literally created for me, because it's like, it's so perfect. I could put it on at the gym, on a walk, on a run, in the car, and immediately it's like I gain information from it. Like I feed from it automatically, and then you subscribe to it, and the fact that I have 2 podcasts, it's like I can bring somebody on. But to another point, where you talked about the differences in like raising our kids with what the information, I'm not going to say the information, but being able to have open conversations with them about it. Because my daughter has ADHD, also more of ADD with girls, because girls don't always show the hyperactivity like boys do. But I remember at a birthday dinner we had for my other daughter, we mentioned it. Like we were talking about ADD. And my dad, who is in his 70s and has a child, me, with ADD, he was like, why are you blasting that girl's business out like that? You don't have to tell everybody. And I was like, Dad, we talk about this all the time. Like she knows it. Like I'm not going to hide it. She was in the doctor's office when she told her. It's like, why am I going to sit here and not have open and honest conversations with her about how she receives and retains information?
Well, and it's a superpower. I mean, I say that often.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm so thankful for my
Mhm.
ADD, ADHD, but you're so right because my dad sent me something recently and was like, I don't think you have ADHD. And I mean, like he's funny. He's here. He's going to probably come give me a bad look. And I was like, no, Dad, this is such a great point because it was a man talking about his experience with ADHD. And, I'm watching my kids. I have an idea of who's going to be diagnosed, but the hyperactivity makes that early experience so different for boys than it does for girls. I was winning the science fair, getting, being a part of student council. I just had to be in everything and doing all the things. And that was, looked up on.
Yep.
Where, my brilliant little hyperactive son just gets comments about how he needs to raise his hand more. And I'm like, but have you noticed that he literally can do division of huge numbers off the top of his head? No, you haven't noticed that because it's first grade. He's hyperactive. That's it. And so do you notice, like with your daughter, where do you notice, sorry, now we're in ADHD, but I love this topic. Do you see a difference between how you grew up with it and her?
Yes.
Or she?
The biggest thing is the impulse control. And that's the conversation her and I have the most when we talk about how she needs to, or how I would like her to start being more self-aware. I mean, asking a 10-year-old to be self-aware is it's almost a losing battle, but I kind of want to put that in her head now. So as she gets older, she understands like what her triggers are going to be, or what happens when like she just has a thought in her head that I'm going to throw this snowball at my sister's face and I don't care how she reacts, although Dad has told me not to do it and I know it's going to hurt her, but I want to do it. And so and the doctors told us that. They said, and it's amazing, this was 2 years ago, I think. So 2022 or 2023, whatever it was, and female doctor, and she's like, it's amazing. We're just now learning more about little girls and ADHD because all the studies, everything was mostly done on little boys, and they showed the hyperactivity, as where girls will not show the hyperactivity. They thought, oh, this is just a male, disorder, or a male superpower, I should say. And my daughter when she gets reprimanded, or not even reprimanded, when she gets told not to do something, or there's a better way, or we think she should make a better decision, she shuts down. It's like her world is over and I can't believe I messed up so bad. Everyone hates me. I'm just going to quit doing what I'm doing. I'm going to go inside and pout. And I've had conversations with her about, you have so much control. You don't even understand it yet. Like you have so much control where you can just snap out. You can go outside and just kick the ball with your sister. You can go play Xbox if you want to, something where you're not just pouting and thinking, woe is me, and waiting for one of your parents to come and say, oh, it's okay. And I don't know how people feel. You asked me about the coaching and training. Like one of the things I used to tell young girls when I coached them, when I had a soccer team, is I told them, I said, this is going to sound terrible. Parents, I apologize. It's going to sound terrible. But I said, no one feels bad for you. So when you mess up, when you give up a goal, when you do something wrong on the soccer field, when you show up late, when you do any of these things which you think are bad, don't pout. Don't show me, and wait for coach to be like, it's okay. Let me pat you on the back. You're just a little girl. Like, no, I don't feel bad for you because you're out here having fun and getting better, and you need to just work through it without that external validation of, oh, she's just a little girl. Now, it might sound rough or rigid or whatever. I'm empathetic. Like there were things but if you make a mistake in a soccer game or a basketball game or training, who cares? Literally, nothing you do at 9 years old on a rec soccer field is going to like ruin your life or make sure everything works out perfectly. Like just go out there and work through it, good or bad, indifferent, whatever. Just keep going. That's it.
Yeah, we're baseball, and I'm like homeboy. That's my oldest.
I figured.
You're never going to survive. You've got 4 games this week. He had 3 games this last weekend and then another one on Monday. Like you have so many games, and like every inning is going to have a high and a low and a good and a bad. Sometimes you get to string some goods in a row. Sometimes you're going to string a lot of bads in a row. But guess what? Especially in this sport, you get to turn around and play it the next day for the most part. Like you have to just be able to move through those feelings. And I love it. I like strict coaching. I mean, it scared me, but when I got to see how my son reacted to it, I feel like, fun is fun, but winning is a lot of fun, especially when you're having fun doing it. So I just love that. And I think that kids need that kind of permission to get past things.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's always like, do you remember what everybody else did wrong on your team today? Are you mad because so-and-so struck out? No. No, because you get it. It happens, right? So, kids sports.
Baseball is a tough sport for that, though. I mean, it's tougher because it's not a fluid sport like soccer or basketball or hockey. It's like the play happens and then everybody kind of like stops. Yeah. And then it happens. So it's, football is kind of the same way where it's like a play, stop, a play. It's not a fluid. So kudos to you. And I love baseball. I wish I had played it, but I had no time for it. But that's one of those sports where you have to have a short memory. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm always like, this is life, dude. Yes. Like you're learning about life. The big things happen in those like slow moments. You're least expecting them. Like, and something's going to break you all the way down, but you've got to be ready to see just how high you can go after that. Like set the thermostat. Because if you're just a thermometer, you're never going to make it.
I'm stealing that. That's good. That's good. I like that.
That's the quote of our family now. I'm like, what's your thermostat? Because right now you seem like you're just in the hot water and it's not going well. Or you're like frozen in an ice cube. Oh my gosh. I love this. I feel like, we need I always feel like we need another podcast, but I feel like we need another podcast. Also, I'm like, I'm already writing a book with you in my head. So, okay, I have a big question for you. And I know we haven't even gotten into your training and, I'm taking all your day up, but what's your purpose?
My purpose, I feel, is to release everyone from feeling awkward, release everyone from feeling like they have to be perfect all the time, to release everyone from, just that, that feeling when you go into like a seminar and there's only, it's a smaller one, like 12 or 15 people. And but at the beginning, the person speaking is like, I need everybody to stand up and mingle and kind of introduce yourself and what you do. And you're like, can't we just get to it? Like, this is weird. This is awkward. And you're like,
or at church even, I'm like,
church. Yeah. It's like, they don't need to know me. I don't need to know them. Let me just get this information. And that's small talk awkwardness. And I'm the one that's like, hey, everybody, I'm Mark. This is what I do. What do you do? What do you do? And I popcorn everywhere. And it's like 5 minutes later, everybody is cool. Like my purpose is to literally show people there's no sharks in this water. Like this is a pond. This is a man-made pond. And There's no sharks. No one dip a toe in. You're not going to lose it. Like, I'm just a human. You're just a human. And a big part of the awkwardness is kids' fear of failure, like fear, and they mistake being bad at something with inexperience. And I try to tell them that as much as I can. It's like a kid will come up to me, even my daughters, and they'll say, I'm bad at math, or I'm bad at doing this, or I'm bad at kicking the ball, or I'm bad at, if I train goalkeepers, I'm just bad at diving. And it's like, don't confuse the fact that you haven't been taught this, or you haven't retained, like, there's a big difference. And a lot of it deals with fault. I was talking to a goalkeeper yesterday, and I said, if I got out here and I was training Tim Howard, who was a national team goalkeeper for 20 years, and he's being lazy, he's not catching the ball correctly. He's like, those are mistakes that's his fault. He knows better. He's been experienced. When I do it with you, like, I want you to make the mistakes. Like, I want you to feel how that feels, because you're learning and getting better. Huge difference. Yeah. So that's my purpose, is kind of really have people understand that you don't have to feel awkward about learning and progress. Progress is growth. Growth is breaking eggs. Like, we got to break a bunch of them, and that is my purpose.
I love it. You're breaking surface tension.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. I don't feel it. I don't feel surface tension. And that might be my superpower. I don't feel it. I never have, because my empathy level is so high. Like, I'm automatically thinking, I wonder what they're probably feeling pretty awkward. They're feeling, okay, it's time for me to step up and put the cape on. Like, this is me.
That is, and I always kind of attribute it to ADHD or ADD, because I see it all the time. Just like, I'm incapable of small talk. Like, it'll be like some small talk conversation, and then I'm like, when I gave birth, like, I'm just gonna go there so that we can all just be like in the conversation, right? Yes. Like,
it opens everybody up, and it's like, okay, all right, well, that we ripped the scab off. Let's freaking jump in right now.
Do you feel like, because I know I've experienced this quite a bit. Like, I come across people who it's like they've never actually thought that they could talk about real things to someone. I mean, honestly, I'm like, who do you talk to? What do you talk about? It's like, wow, I've never actually told anybody that. And I'm like, really? Doesn't it feel good to talk about real things? Whether it's like how they feel about making dinner every night, or I think that I worry a lot that there are a lot of people out there who don't give themselves permission to go deeper and talk more about their thoughts and feelings and experiences. And that's so much a part of, I feel, getting to figure out what our purpose is and how we can help others. I don't know. Am I making sense?
No, you make plenty of sense. And I think about this a lot, but I have to remember the generation, or the micro generation that I'm in, I guess, Xennial. I don't know if people even know what that is, but 77 to 83. Okay, good.
I'm in it.
Good. Okay. So where it's like, we didn't get social media until our 20s, basically.
Yeah.
Thank
God for that.
God, yes. Like, landlines were the thing back. Like, that's a week got home and you call your friends up, but I was also raised in the house that we were friendly with our neighbors, but we didn't go out and discuss every bit of information with them. Our generation was kind of taught to really keep things close to the vest. And when you the thing I like to tell people about kids, when you tell them something specific, they're going to specifically do it. So, for instance, like when my daughter was getting coached in basketball, the coach said, hey, don't look to score all the time. Look to get your teammates open. And I was wondering why the whole second half she never shot the ball, because she was listening to her coach. Like, young girls are very good at that. So, but kids, when they hear, hey, don't let people know too much about you, they hear, I'm not going to say anything to people. Right. But then nowadays you have kids growing up, and we hear about it all the time now with kids getting in a lot of trouble for what they post on Instagram and Facebook and all these things. But we didn't have that. So now when, I see it all the time with people my age, especially men, because as a man, they've been taught you have two feelings you can feel. One is strength. Like you're allowed to feel strength. You're allowed to feel, that you are in charge. You're the strong one. And anger. Those are the two things you're allowed to feel. And the amount of men that I talk to that are like, man, I just wish I had somebody to talk to and explain like how I don't have this figured out. Like, I don't know what to do. My wife is telling me I need to do this. My kids have this. Like, I don't have it all together. And I'd be like, hey, who do you talk to? Who do you say this to? And they'd be like, you're the only one that I've talked to. Well, while honored, I feel for being that person, I also feel very like just sad and emotional that I'm the one. Like, and so I think you and I are in a generation that I think in this age we're starting to understand that emotional strength is something that we all need.
Yeah.
Emotional stability. And I don't know about you, but I've realized that there's nothing in this world other than probably like use the bathroom that I can do by myself. Like there's nothing I can do by myself. And I don't want to do it by myself either.
Right.
So yeah, I think again, we could probably write a book or have another podcast on that thing itself. I think that's the gist of this show, is like little podcasts within the podcast.
Exactly. And I love it. And it's funny because I totally agree. And it does. We have like a very strange like life experience having, go on from the 20 minutes of dial up. And then, I tell my kids who have their own phones, do you know that like if my brother's friend called, like I had to get off the phone, or if my mom was on a call, I didn't get to talk to anybody. Like you're complaining right now about what? But we also had the freedom of doing whatever we did in our 20s and not have it. The only way it's recorded is on like some pictures in my garage somewhere that were printed out at CVS, right? Thank God. But at the same time, what I do see with a son who's in 6th grade is a different formation of friendships between him and his buddies. And I am seeing this empathetic side. And I don't know where it's all coming from. I mean, they sit on the couch and they have their arms around each other. He has one buddy who opens the door for him every time I pick them up from school. They're like, they do. And he'll tell me what one of his, his pitcher said in the dugout to him over the weekend. And he was a mess because he was in a hitting slump. And that is the equivalent of like the atomic bomb of baseball, is feeling like you're never going to hit the ball again. And that's how he felt. And it's cutthroat baseball. So he was pulled from the lineup and they were like, swing your damn bat, kid. Like, which is what he needs to do. But for his buddy to be like, dude, but we're winning right now. So do you want to have the best game of your life, or do you want to win this tournament? And you're going to show up, you're going to hit the ball again. And like, it was his buddy who said that to him. And that means so much more than it coming from me. And I see a level of, it's just beautiful to me, because I always felt like, God, this kid, is he going to be able to find what he needs in friends? And I see more empathy in men. And I hope that that is more widespread, that they do grow up with it, and that they can learn to like share with each other in the way that you're talking about. Because I don't know what I would do without my girlfriends, who I give it all to and take it all from, I do think that you're right, though. I think I don't think my husband sits and talks to any men about the struggles or the, emotional ups and downs of things.
Have you ever
Where is
asked
it?
him if he does or why he doesn't?
Yeah. He is a quiet man, you know? But there have been times, and I see the difference, and I think it's hard. It's harder. I'm like somebody who makes best friends with everyone in the world.
Mhm.
Like,
You're a 3-year-old kid who showed up at a birthday party and like everyone's your best friend leaving the
yeah,
birthday. Yes, I know.
yeah.
It's-
I like my. I really am, and I'm playing with the 3-year-old kids. Like
Yes.
they are my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but that's also that can have that's another podcast that can open some
yes.
doors too when it comes to boundaries.
Well, I will say this. I don't know your husband, but if he ever just wants to vent to another man, please give him my information.
I
and
will.
I will just listen. I
found the guy.
Yes. Just as long as he needs. It's the quiet ones that really usually have the most to say. It's the ones that talk all the time. And people assume I talk all the time because I'm talking to you and I can, say what I need to say and make it sound very professional and like I know exactly what's going on when upstairs it's going 1,000 miles an hour. But like I am the person that listens as much as I can. And I'll be honest with you, that scares some people when I'll be on the phone and they're like, don't you have anything to say? And it's like, I'm listening to you. Like if people are just so wired to have someone cut them off while they speak.
Yeah.
They're so wired. And I tell people this all the time, like next time that you're in a business meeting or a meeting and you're on a Zoom call or whatever it is, just sit back and put yourself on mute and listen and watch when somebody makes a point or asks a question, how quickly the next person jumps in and speaks. They weren't listening. They were just waiting for their turn to speak. And that upsets me because, and people are going to hate me when I say this, it usually happens the most when women speak and ask a question or share a feeling. And it's usually a man who comes in a lot of the times right after. I'm not saying it doesn't happen or vice versa, but a lot of times it happens that way. And I really wish, man or woman, whatever, that people would just pause for a second and at least acknowledge the other person's point or validate their question. Because in those kind of situations, and here's the awkward thing again, they're probably asking a question everyone else has, but is too afraid to ask. So I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what I wanted to say.
I completely agree. And sometimes it's not a man, but just like it's like a masculine energy,
It is.
which we all have masculine and feminine energies. So, it obviously depends on the type of call. But one tool that I learned a while ago, and it was from a therapist, I would always say, I know. When someone was right about something, I would say, I know. And he said, you telling me that you know is you saying that you already knew this. Is that how you say, like how you respond to other people? I'm like, I don't know, probably. What am I supposed to say? And he said, tell them that they're right. And it's a shift.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because it's like it is your ego saying, I know, as opposed to you're right, you are correct, and whether it's something that you didn't, a lot of times it's something that I really do need to internalize and think more about, right? Like, first of all, I'm lying. I did not know. Okay. Now I know because you just said it.
You don't know how, like this, hey, Katie, this person really doesn't like you. And you're like, what do you mean? Like I told them that I knew, I agreed with them. They were right. And the whole time you're just saying, I know, in a way that's like, oh, I'm not going to tell Katie anything anymore. Jeez, that know-it-all. So no, I can definitely understand that wholeheartedly. And it's kind of upsetting because it's like, you don't mean anything by it.
Right. What I felt like you're right. Mm-hmm. You are correct.
Thank you. I feel seen. Thank you. I appreciate that. laughing.
I hadn't thought about it ever before. I just thought I was agreeing with people when really it's like, but now when I take the moment and I tell them, yeah, you're correct. You're right. Whether they're telling me something about me or about whatever business or what needs to happen for, I don't know, to clean the house, if it's my husband, like we need to do this before something else done. Instead of me saying, I know, saying you're right, we do. Like that's so much more validating to the other person. And it slows you down a little bit too, because you're admitting that you've lost and you have to think.
Even better, admitting that you didn't know. Like let's go instead of I understand what your therapist is saying and saying go from I know to you're right, but I wonder how many times just instinctually you said I know, and in your side you're like I don't know, I don't.
Right.
But it's just that natural like almost tick behavior of like
exactly.
I have to say something after they say something so they know I'm with them.
Yeah,
I'm with it. Yeah, I got. I know. Yeah.
It's a strange little shift in something that it slows me down because I have to remind myself that I'm going to say something different, and then I have to like realize that I didn't actually know, and that they are right, and that, or or maybe I did know, but we're collaborating. It's a more collaborative conversation. Okay, so do you just want to start co-hosting on this show with me every week?
Let's do it. I have plenty of time. Listen,
Nothing going on.
Wide open. I was trying to figure out how do I spend that last hour of my day. I was wondering, but now I've met you. It's like, hey, and your name can go first. I'm cool.
We
with
could
that.
switch it up.
Ooh, like
you never know.
You never know. It's either going to be Katie or Mark, one of the two, but you never know until the show comes out. That'll be the one that gets them. I got to tune in.
We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. And then we can be like, if you thought it was going to be Mark this week, you were right.
Watch out, Joe Rogan. We have just taken over podcast space.
Yep.
Taking it over.
Kelsey twins are moving out.
Oh my
God. My girlfriend says she wants to do a podcast with me, and her husband goes, "What are you going to call it? Or old Lows?" I'm like, absolutely we are.
Yeah. Thank you. Producer credit for that. You are.
Old Lows. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, now that we've like solved only a very small percentage of the world's problems that we are clearly going to finish solving at some point. Your training, do you do virtual? Are you in person? Where are you at? How can we find you? What are your two podcasts? I mean, just give it all to us. I'm sorry.
So virtual is something I would like to start doing. I don't want to jump into anything without being like 1,000% ready for it. So of the two people I virtually trained, it's kind of fallen off, and nobody's fault. Like both of us in the relationship were in really like difficult situations where we could find and schedule a time where we could do it. So everything is in person now. And a lot of the stuff I do is integrating sports training with personal training and making sure that people understand like how important it is to have core strength if you want to play a sport. Like it's kind of funny to me where
I just started flexing my abs as you said that.
I could tell the universe shifted. But I could tell like people will not have good balance when they're doing things. And it's like, hey, do you like do any type of core? Oh no, I just do this. It's like, all right, well that's perfect. I can work with this. So everything is kind of in person now. So after or in between or before my day job, I have the Relatively Normal podcast and the 6 a.m. Run podcast. And one's on mental health and fitness. The other one is kind of on physical health and fitness. And it's like, oh, this is perfect for me. Like I have both of these and I love doing both. Actually, before you and I recorded, I had a recording for Relatively Normal an hour before. So, and then, on top of that, I
I love that name of a podcast, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Because we're all relatively normal.
Yeah.
And, on top of that, I make time to get to the gym. I make time to go for my runs. I make time to, cook dinner for my family, to do the laundry, to make sure my girl go outside and play basketball with my girls and kick the soccer ball. And one of them loves slime. And I know some parents don't like it, but the fact I know that when she is doing slime, she's off of technology. And so anytime she asks me to do slime, I'm like, let's do it. Because
do you guys make
iPad is a what? Yes, I've made it once. She makes it all the time. And it's like her thing where she'll bring it to me and be like, hey Dad, look at this new color. This is new color. And after about 3 or 4 with the same one, it's like, honey, it's brown. Like every one of these gets brown because you cannot, it's not a rainbow. It's not light. It's actually physical. So when you find a color you like, just move to the next one. Like
leave it.
Leave it. It's like you have oils in your hand.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was such a nice pink or blue. And it's like 2 days later, I'm going to add this and this and this to it. It's like, all right, we found that brown before. Yep. We always get here. We always get here.
Oh my gosh.
But other than that, like I didn't say enough. You kind of mentioned this, like my ADHD brain, like I crave rigidity, being productive. That's why I can't binge. I love sports. I don't watch entire sports games because I don't have 3 hours just to sit in front of a TV and do nothing. Like I crave, my brain loves to be doing something, to be doing something productive, to be helping people. I get so much. I've had podcast shows where I've had to schedule 11 p.m. because the person's in Europe or something. And I absolutely love it. Like I'll be tired, but like 15 minutes in, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like,
yeah. Right.
I was built to do this. Like I have so much energy. And then like after the show, I'll go ahead and produce and edit it. And like it's like 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, okay, go to sleep. So,
that is so the truth. Yeah,
it really is. And I know people are like, how do you do it? Like what makes you like, I couldn't do that. And it's like, it's not a competition. Like find something you love doing, find something. I'll be honest with you right now. Like for instance, when it comes to fitness, like I'm not really big on cycling. I know when I hurt my knee, people were like, oh, well, you should cycle or swim. It's like, I don't want to do either of those things. I want to run.
Yeah.
But I did swim for a little bit because I wanted to rehab it. But it's like, I'm not going to force you to do something that you're not going to get some enjoyment out of.
Right.
And I think a lot of the world should, I won't say should, but could like get more out of that. Like just letting people be people. I learned that with my daughters. I don't know if you learned that with your sons, but it's like, there's so many times where it's like, I really wish or want her to do things this way or be more proactive or work harder or not mouth off at her mother. But at the same time, I had a woman that had on a podcast tell me like, that's going to be her superpower. You're going to, whenever she's approached when she's older by unwanted advances or someone trying to get her to do, like, that's how she's going to keep her boundaries. And I'm like, holy crap, yes. Right. So
it's all the time.
Yeah. It's all, and at the same time, it's like, it's my fault. Like she got it from me. She got it from me. Like every time I hear her with like a quick-witted response, I'm like, don't do that, but damn it, that was good. Like,
that was good.
Oh, good. You're okay. No, not in front of your mom, but behind her. I'm like, that's solid work. So
some of the best like realizations about my kids have come from people who know nothing of them.
Right.
And it's been, and one was my best friend who had no kids and who drove me crazy before she had kids. Because she just was like, it's not a big deal, Katie. And now she's like, Katie, how'd you do this? I'm like, I love you so much more as a mom.
Yes.
But yeah, I just remember her being like, I was so upset with my daughter because she would never wear the cute clothes ever. And my Nora goes, Katie, just let her wear what she wants to. Let her be who she wants to be. And I was like, screw you. And then I was like, you're right.
I have this vision in my head of who my daughter's going to be. Damn it, she's going to be a princess.
And it went into so many different areas because I'm like, you're a ballerina. I danced. Like, please, I was short and I had big feet and like, gosh, you'll look beautiful doing it. Homegirl's not a ballerina. Like, she's just not. Sister does not do ballet, but she does so many other amazing things. And, and then there was another moment where someone said, my daughter needed the love as much as my sons, because my sons will come up, tell me that they love me over and over again, ask for hugs and ask me to lay with them. She won't ask for it. But they said my daughter needed it just as much, but she wouldn't ask for it. And I'm like, shit. What have I done to her?
But you listened.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you should go into since we're finding other things for you to do right now.
I just cleared out everything next. Tell me.
So you've got a third podcast. It's both of our third podcasts, though, so It's fine. We'll do fine.
You're right.
We can do it.
Honey, a lady named Katie, who I met today, said I should do this, so you're not going to see me.
We're starting a new podcast and writing a book. So yeah, like in the other space of time that you have, somebody needs to start kids' sports mindset coaching.
That is a great idea. I know there's people who've like tapped into the space a little bit. But I think that at one, let me say that's a great idea. Great idea. I wonder if like you don't understand, like now you have me like thinking upstairs, I have time to do this. Let me clear my schedule for the rest of the day. I gotta start writing things down.
It's a bit like, it's not about they need to hear from somebody outside of their parents. I mean,
yes. And the parents need to hear from somebody too.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing where my issue is with parents nowadays, and that's very general, and that's very Mark, say more. Like I sometimes I wonder, like, what do we see in our children? Like, what do we see every one of them being perfect and getting a scholarship and somehow, some way, like changing the sport and records and all this stuff? And it's like, I literally just want to get my kids out of the house.
Yeah.
And keep them entertained, keep them physically fit. But I think a lot of that,
have something to care about,
have something, like, oh yes. Yeah, oh, that's big. That's huge. That is huge, because you're right. Because when, I don't want them to just grow up with having to figure out, oh, my college degree or my job isn't important because I don't know why. Like, I've never had to find anything important in my life or care about it in my life. Like, everything was just whatever.
Right.
And that goes back to what you said earlier about the role that sports plays and how, like, there's so many life lessons in it. I mean, I don't think people understand the amount of life lessons in sports. And for instance, like
that's the book, by the way. That's the book we're writing.
That's the book. Like, for instance, like the Lakers lost to the Nuggets in the playoffs. The Lakers led 3 times as long as the Nuggets did in the playoffs. I'm not saying one team is better than the. I mean, one team technically is, because they won the series. But it's like, if you were just to take little snippets of that series, you would see that the Lakers were leading. You would surmise that, oh, they won the series. Like, how many good shots don't go in? How many poor shots do go in? Like, it is so many. Like, we could sit here and just write these things out, and I think people need to understand that a kid who doesn't necessarily excel in sports, that doesn't mean anything.
No.
Like, if a kid can socialize with people who he or she's never met, if they can take direction from a coach who doesn't have their last name, if they can make it through a whole season through the ups and downs, and then try it again next year, or try a different sport next year. Like, we can do this all day. Like, we can do this all day. Yeah.
All day. Yeah.
I started on it. I've already had the premise for it, so we're good.
Perfect.
I'm going to get to the end of the day.
I have a title, but it's a working title. So I don't know. It's going to be a series. There's going to be a whole
Let
bunch.
your people send it to my people.
All right.
And, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So,
we were just to go off of that real quick, and I promise I'm going to let you get off of this call with me, but we're not finished. I mean, we just gave you guys a bunch of the topics that are coming.
Yeah.
But my kids came up to me, and it's like a tight game, like a tight, big game, second day of tournament. And my kids come up and they go, "Mom, are we winning? Are we winning?" And I go, "Nobody's ever winning or losing until this game is over." And I had like 4 people look at me and go, "Whoa, that's so true." That is life. Like, that is it. There's no such thing. And it's like, in baseball, anything can happen. You can get 7 runs and, you want to give up and just let them work you. That's fine. Then you're going to notice and they're going to keep throwing it. You're out. You're done. But it's like, that is life. You're not winning or losing. You're just in the game. As long as you're in the game, then you die.
My dad I used to say, "Dad, who's winning?" And my dad would be like, "Oh, well, this team is leading at the moment, but no one's winning right now." So it's funny how we have that same type of thought process. My usual response to that is like, who cares? Not who cares and like such, but I'm like, hey, let's just see what happens. Let's finish the game out.
Yeah.
Let's do whatever we can. So, I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Mark.
Talking sports all day.
I know. Same. Big time same. I'm like, how much will my audience hate me if I just completely rebrand to talking about youth sports?
We're going to talk about 12-year-old boys baseball for 3 seasons. Every day is just going to be.
I'm just going to relive each game for you. There are lessons.
See, what happens in a double play is that we take out 2 things. So you have to look deeper. It's like, oh my God, Katie's still doing this. Like, it's been 3 months.
My favorite metaphor for baseball is politics, because I'm like, the baseball, it's like politics is youth to baseball, because we've got like 2 sides who are just so intent on, even if the ump is wrong, like making sure that their side gets it right. Like, it doesn't matter. And everyone's just forgotten about the little kids wanting to have fun.
Yes.
And I'm like, there it is. There's our political system. Like, everybody's lost point of the fact here, and y'all just want to be right.
So many lessons.
Dude.
So many lessons.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Mark, I am going to have every different way to reach you. People are going to save your website for when you start offering youth mindset coaching. I will be your first sign up probably tomorrow. And I would love to do this again on any topic or any new topic. I'm excited to write the book together. I know it's going to be a bestseller. And I think I think I have a pretty good hookup to Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he'll write our foreword. I don't know if that would be good right now or not, but
we'll have him do a draft. We'll read it first.
We'll offer him a draft.
And he should probably use a pen name too. Yeah. So, but yeah. Aaron.
We're gonna call him Bo J, and we'll let people figure it out.
There we go.
I hope to get to work with you again, and everyone check out, whether you are looking for the physical fitness aspect, the mindset aspect, check out Marc's podcast. Everything linked in the show notes. Marc, I cannot wait to release this to my people and for all the great things that we have planned.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I had a great time today.
So much fun. All right, there it is there. Thank you so much for joining us today on Level After Next podcast. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Or if you really don't want to have any FOMO, head over to levelafternext.org where you can catch up with all the things. Peace out.